Welcome. Week 12 is here. KVK time, baby. Let's get into it. First, foremost, let's introduce the analyst once again, because I know you miss him, and I do too. KJ, what's up?
What's going on, everybody? KJ here. I am really bummed out this week because we got slaughtered by the Green Bay Packers, and I got slaughtered by like bronchitis or something. So I apologize for what I sound like, but hopefully I still give you some good advice like I did last week. I whooped Kyle's ass last week.
All right, coming out to get smacking. Kyle, what's up?
What's up, guys? It's Kyle. It's true. I'm licking my wounds this week, and along with that nasty Broncos loss to the Rams, I have no room to talk here.
Oh, yeah, it was an ugly week for you guys. So, as always, our man in the field, Chris, what's up?
What's going on, guys? Chris here, bringing you the wonderful questions from the field. Thanks, everyone that watches this video. We're seeing the videos continue to grow, and I just want to call out that also I'm a Green Bay Packers fan, so it was a lovely weekend for me.
All right, what a show off, and KJ's not happy about that one at all. All right, let's get right into it. So, as always, we get into our starts versus our sits. Most important. So, we're going to go ahead and show you, like our new format, show you our starts and sits of the week. Take a look. It's going to be an interesting week, as you can see. KJ has some good ones. Kyle has some good ones there, too. A little similar, but some smart ones, I'd say. So, let's get right into it. KJ, who are your top two players in your list that are prime starts or sits?
So this week, one of my big starts is Trey Mason, running back for the Rams, going against the San Diego Chargers. I think the Chargers are thoroughly susceptible to a thrashing on the ground. So I think Trey Mason's going to be in for a big workload. The Rams have got to be kind of holding their heads up high after beating the Broncos last week. So I think they're going to feed him the rock a lot. I think he's going to get at least 20 to 25 carries. It's going to give you a big day and a touchdown.
All right, and who's your number two?
My number two is a defense that just got slaughtered by Tom Brady, but I think they're a good start this week against Jacksonville because Jacksonville does not have Tom Brady. They have Blake Bortles, and he has had some serious rookie sorrows this year. So I think the Indy defense is going to be a good defense. They were good for turnovers before they met Brady, but I think they're going to be good again for it this week against Bortles.
Wise pick. They're definitely on the comeback, so let's hopefully they can come through with that one. So let's go ahead and go with Kyle. Who are your top two?
All right, so this week I'm going to go ahead and start Doug Baldwin. I know he's been up and down ever since Percy Harvin's been traded, but he's going against the Arizona Cardinals this week, and the Cardinals are second in the league against the run, but they are the third worst in yardage given up through the air. So Marshawn Lynch might have a rough day. Russell Wilson will have to look Doug Baldwin's lay a little bit more this week, so start him. And then on the other side, for my sit, I'm going with Trent Richardson, which might not be a popular pick because of the Ahmad Bradshaw story and him being out for the rest of the year. But Trent Richardson's stat line last week was 7 carries for zero yards. He's averaging 3.4 yards per carry this year, which is actually better than what he averaged last year. So I don't see him taking any of this opportunity in a good way. I think that Daniel Herron, who's behind him, is actually going to end up being the better running back here. So I would still sit Trent Richardson.
All right, I hear you on that one. Let's see if he can step up to the plate without Bradshaw behind him, taking away his carries. So while we're talking about the Colts, Kyle, you're starting Kobe Fleener. How do you feel about that one?
I actually feel very good about Coby Fleener. I think that Dwayne Allen is still a little bit banged up. I don't trust him. He might not even play. And Coby Fleener, after Dwayne Allen was out of the game the other day, had a career game. He had, I think it was 7 catches for 144 yards. And it's going against Jacksonville, not the best defense in the world. So if you're desperate and Dwayne Allen's not going to play, I'd go with Coby Fleener.
All right, and I also noticed that since you're the biggest Redskins hater on this channel, why are you sitting Vernon Davis?
I'm sitting Vernon Davis simply because of where he is ranked and how he has done this year. He's the 32nd ranked tight end in the league, that means that he shouldn't be even owned at this point. So until I see some sort of life from him, the last 2 games have been 1 catch for 4 yards and 1 catch for 7 yards. You can find almost anyone doing better than that, except for Kyle Rudolph.
Oh, shout at Kyle Rudolph. I like it. All right, so looking at KJ's list again, I notice he's starting Jay Cutler, who's been a cutlet. Why so, Cage?
Cutler really shut me up last week. He was one of my sits, and he had one of the best games of the season of his so far. He's still got 2 big targets in Alshon and Brandon Marshall. I like the matchup a lot against Tampa Bay. I can't go against Cutlet this week. I think Cutlet's going to have a good game.
All right, I hear you on that one. Hopefully he can step up since the franchise is right on his back, pretty much. I also noticed you're starting Keenan Allen, who's been kind of, How do you feel about him?
So I know the Rams just had a huge stop against Peyton Manning, holding him to 1 touchdown. I don't think that's going to carry over again. The defense has pretty much let down a lot of people this fantasy season with the Rams being drafted so early. So I think Rivers is going to see what went wrong for Peyton and the Broncos, and I think he's going to adjust accordingly. I think they're most susceptible through the air versus on the ground. So I look for Keenan Allen to reestablish himself this week, at least to have one good fantasy week for the people that bothered to keep him on their bench for this long in the season.
All right, so going on to the next question. I'm sure KJ's had a good look at Kyle's list. So, looking at Kyle's list, Cage, who do you disagree with?
Okay, I'm telling you this from the bottom of my heart. Do not start Doug Baldwin this week. Doug Baldwin was going to do terrible for you, like he's done most of the season outside of maybe 1 or 2 weeks. He was not able to kind of step into that number 1 wide receiver role. He's still not ready for it. He's not a number 1 guy. He's a number 2 at best. And I think against the Arizona Cardinals with Patrick Peterson reestablishing himself last week, I think he's going to draw that matchup again, and I think Peterson will shut him down. Look for them to run the ball, even though Arizona's a tough matchup on the ground. Marshawn Lynch is a beast. They're going to look to run.
He said beast mode. # beast mode. All right. Kyle, your rebuttal?
Honestly, I don't have any people on KJ's list that I don't really disagree with. So I'm going to go here and just say that I really do agree most with the Jay Cutler pick that he has, just because he is, even though he's had this up and down year, he is the 6th ranked quarterback in fantasy football. He just came off a 3-touchdown game. So there's really nothing to be worried about with Jay Cutler, because even though he might not win the game for Chicago, but he's going to probably win the game for your fantasy football team.
I'm sure a lot of Cutler owners are hoping so. All right, and that's our starts versus our sits. And like we like to do all the time, hit up our man Chris Gordon in the field. What do you got to say?
All right, guys. So through Facebook and Twitter, I have a couple of questions from these analysts. The first one is, do I start Phillip Rivers against St. Louis after what they did to Peyton?
Oh, let's hand this off to Kyle. What do you got to say?
Well, this one kind of hits home because Peyton just looked so awful against the Rams. And I'm going to say sit Phillip Rivers. I know KJ just said that he's going to learn from what happened to Peyton, but the Rams have actually been the Rams defense that you thought you were going to draft the last couple of weeks. Did you see what they did to Colin Kaepernick? The guy has mobility, and they had 8 sacks. So I think that they're really starting to pick it up. I'm liking the Rams defense as a sleeper this week against the high-flying San Diego offense. So I would say if you had a better option, I'd sit Phillip Rivers.
Ooh, KJ seemed to like that answer. Thoughts?
I do kind of like the answer. I think if you have Rivers, like we've been saying a lot during the season, he's your backup. You have somebody else that you drafted to be your starter. Look for that matchup to be a higher upside matchup. Rivers, start him if you really, really think he can overcome the Rams defense. I don't doubt that he can, but if you have somebody with a higher upside, go with that other quarterback.
So I guess what you're saying is you really don't think he's going to learn.
No, I think he could definitely have a good game. I just think if there's somebody with a higher upside, he's all about risk. It's late in the season, people trying to get in the playoffs. Yeah, if you got a better matchup, I think why not play it?
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Time to start clinching because spots are filling up. All right, Chris.
I know I'm fighting for a playoff spot. All right, next question. Which running back would you play? Jerick McKinnon versus Green Bay or Terrence West at Atlanta?
Let's hand this off the cage.
I am not touching any running back going against Green Bay. They just shut down Shady McCoy and Darren Sproles with ease. So I am not touching Jerick McKinnon. They also just signed Ben Tate. Don't know how he's going to factor in this week in his first week with the Vikings. Terrence West obviously is the future of the Cleveland Browns. Even if it's a two-headed beast with him and Crowell, I like Terrence West to get at least 15 carries against a favorable defensive matchup. Start West.
Thoughts, Kyle?
Yeah, it's actually kind of funny how Ben Tate kind of factors both of these guys now. Ben Tate leaving Cleveland, going to Minnesota, I think is going to hurt McKinnon's value. But I think that McKinnon's the guy of the future there as well. But I like Terrence West right now just because he's going to get more carries now that Tate is gone. Even though I'd still say I'd take Corral over West right now just because of he led the carries last week with 14. So, but I'd go Terrence West.
All right, valuable answer. Chris?
All right, final question for now. We have a wide receiver question. Michael Floyd at Seattle or Jordan Matthews versus Tennessee? From the people.
Kyle?
I'm going with Jordan Matthews. If you saw my start and sit list, I had Michael Floyd on my sit. I know everyone's probably going crazy now because he had 2 touchdowns and Drew Stanton looked amazing, but you saw all the time that Drew Stanton had to throw, which was surprising against the Lions defense, but he had a ton of time to throw. I just don't think that's actually going to last. I think that Drew Stanton comes down to earth a little bit, and Jordan Matthews seems to be in a better situation. Him and Mark Sanchez have a very nice chemistry. 2 solid games since Sanchez became a starter, so I think that's going to continue to roll.
Agreed. Cage?
Jordan Matthews, and it's not because I'm being a homer. It's because I don't think Jordan Matthews is going to command the kind of attention that Michael Floyd will. Michael Floyd is obviously the number 1 in Arizona, and even though Seattle's defense doesn't look like they did last year, against the pass, they're still number 3 in the league. So I think Michael Floyd still has a great chance of getting shut down completely, whereas Jordan Matthews is a favorable target for Mark Sanchez against a defense that showed up last week against the Steelers, but I don't know if they can do it again against the Eagles this week.
All right, and that's our starts versus our sits. So, moving on to the next segment, our plan B for plan B. Buy low or sell high. Unfortunately, it's going to be the last segment of the season because you know what? Trade deadline is here. It's time to start preparing for next season and the playoffs. You know who you got to prepare for next season, too. So, let's get right into it. So, here's a nice hot list of all the hottest traded players around the league this week. Enjoy. All right, so we have a couple interesting players up there. So, KJ, out of this list, me on my team, I'm failing at running back. Who in this list should I buy low now on, right about now?
So I'm gonna buy high, and if you would have told me 10 weeks ago that I'd be doing this, I'd say you're crazy. I'm buying high on Mark Ingram. I think the running backs for the Saints are they're all banged up. So Cadet, Pierre Thomas, there's just no competition for him. I think Mark Ingram's going to continue to get high volume, and offense is kind of failing through the air. So I think Mark Ingram, if you're heading into the playoffs and you need to solidify a running back spot ASAP, throw some players at somebody and get Mark Ingram on your team because he's going to be a great RB2 for you heading into the playoffs. Buy high on Mark Ingram.
Oh, he said buy high. All right, Kyle?
All right, well, first of all, I just wanted to comment on that. If they're struggling through the air and they go into a loaded box, he is not going to be successful against that. But I'm going to go and buy, and I guess I can't also buy low on this player, but I'm going to buy LaShawn McCoy just because I don't believe that he's going to continue to be on this down year. I know Darren Sproles has been taking away a little bit of the limelight. He actually has a lot more rushing touchdowns than McCoy does too. But at some point, he's going to break out. He's been getting better yards per carry in the last few weeks. So I think that if you're able to buy, and without giving up one of your top 2 players to get McCoy, who should be a top 1 player, I would definitely do it.
Yeah, it's odd to know that Shady McCoy has been kind of up and down. It's scary being one of the top 2 players in the league from the draft. All right. So, also looking at my team, Big Ben Roethlisberger has been weak sauce for the past few weeks. Is it time to sell him, Kyle?
If I have Big Ben, I'm not letting him go, just because of the potential of that offense is a lot higher than a lot of other offenses in the league. With the weapons that he now has, these guys are coming out of nowhere, basically, with Martavis Bryant and Marcus Wheaton. They're both getting much better. And, of course, Antonio Brown is still on that streak of 5 receptions and 75 yards. The guy is just a stud. And it's almost hard for him not to succeed. So I think that don't worry about these last few weeks. I think he'll be more towards his 300 yards and 3 touchdowns rather than what you've seen the last couple weeks.
All right. Gage, am I keeping Big Ben or am I selling him?
You're selling that big bastard. You're selling Big Ben. Here's why. He's got some tough matchups coming up in the last couple weeks of the season, which are the last weeks of the playoffs, including a Week 16 matchup with Kansas City. Kansas City is a badass defense. I don't know if I trust Big Ben against them. So, yeah, I am selling Big Ben because chances are you got somebody else on your bench. Sell him, turn him into something that you can use in the playoffs. Bye-bye, Ben.
Bye. All right. So, there's a car dealership out there that's missing a salesman. And his name is Josh Gordon. Because he's coming back. He's back. All right? So, coming out lately, actually early this morning, Cleveland actually admitted and kind of put it out in there in the airwaves that they're not going to force feed Josh that much. They're just going to ease him back. Just ease him back. He hasn't been practicing with them, but he's been in shape. So, where do you expect his value to hit? KJ?
Well, I'll tell you this much. If you have Josh Gordon, you have not been stashing him on your bench all year to not start him the first week that he's back. So I don't care how much they're going to use him. I'm putting him in my lineup. I think even with him taking 50 to 60% of the snaps, he could crack the top 10. I'm going to predict he's number 8 on the wide receiver list this week. Josh Gordon against Atlanta. Yeah.
Okay, Kyle, where are you ranking him?
Well, I'm ranking him in the top 15, and I also don't believe anything that the Browns say because they also said that Johnny Manziel wasn't going to play this year, but if Brian Hoyer keeps throwing about 38% of his passes to his own receivers and not somebody else, then probably he won't be starting much longer. I think that and Andre Hawkins is the top receiver there. This guy is going to be nowhere to be found once Josh Gordon's on the field. Josh Gordon is going to see a ton of targets. I think there's no way he doesn't finish in the top 15 of wide receivers the rest of the year.
Without question, he's taking over that team. Without question. All right, so looking at our list again, is there a player not on this list who you would buy or sell this week? Kyle?
I am buying the only guy that is left in the Broncos' backfield, just because of pure volume, not because of the actual stats or success. They're going to give the guy the ball just because he's the only guy that Peyton trusts. Jawan Thompson didn't even record a carry, even though he was the backup running back. So if you can get C.J. Anderson for something on the lower end, I would definitely take it because you're going to see him get a ton of touches. And he catches the ball out of the backfield, too. So in PPR, go for it.
All right. Cage, anybody not on the list you want?
So I'm actually going to sell somebody high this week. I'm going to sell Terrence West. So for the people like Kyle who are kind of smitten with Terrence West, I'm going to sell him high, see what I can get for him, because now without Ben Tate there, you can kind of sell him. You can just, hey, Terrence West is going to do great for you. Cleveland Browns want him to run all the time for them. Sell Terrence West. Get something for him because you don't know what that two-headed system is going to look like. And he's your fourth running back, probably.
You're selling your victories away, people. Don't do it.
He's probably your fourth running back.
All right. So, without further ado, we're moving on. So, with our sleepers, our plan Cs. So first but foremost, we have to recap last week's sleepers. And go ahead and tally it up and show you the nice recap we have here.
Winner.
Enjoy that. Okay. You know that feeling you have on your face when you watch this? Kyle, would you like to discuss one failed player from your team that really stuck out to you?
Well, I wish I could only pick one, but my whole team was a failure. But let's go with Monte Ball. You sit out 5 weeks to get this groin injury better. You get in for one play, and you pop it again. Then you go out of the game for a quarter. You come back in, the first play you pop it again. So I don't understand what you're doing and why you keep getting injured. But you just ruined my entire sleeper style. So thank you, Monte Ball.
All right, KJ, who's your failure? Fortunately, we can't see it too late.
Monte Ball broke his balls. Sorry. My only failure last week was Jared Cook, who Kyle didn't even say he was a sleeper, even though he's owned in like -6% of leagues. But yeah, Jared Cook gave me 1.4 points, which is actually 1.4 points more than Kyle's sleeper tight end gave him. So yeah, Jared Cook, sorry. Yeah, you failed. You did terrible. In a game where the Rams beat the Broncos, you couldn't do anything. You're a failure, dude.
Horrible, horrible. All right, Carl, your successful player?
I'm just going at this as a success because it was the only player that did really kind of score points for anyone. Sean Hill, he got the win against the Broncos, so that's the bigger success. So we'll give him that. And I think the reason why Jared Cook didn't have a good week, KJ, is because everyone was expecting the Broncos to be up big and Sean Hill to have to throw the ball, but he really didn't have to throw the ball after the second quarter because the Broncos just had nothing.
Good case. I like that. Good case. Gage, try picking a successful player out of this team.
Only one. Okay, so I'm going to go with my successful player being Andrew Hawkins. In non-PPR leagues, he put up 15.5 points for you. Had a great day against your Houston Texans, Bezel. Sorry, buddy. But yeah, Andrew Hawkins was my sleeper for this week. Is he going to be any more? No, because as Kyle said, Josh Gordon's back. So we'll see what his roles are limited to now. But yeah, last week he was awesome.
All right, so Lou for Ryan Mallett. Thank you very much. All right, so let's take a look at this week's Week 12 sleepers. Let's see if Kyle can come back this time. All right, so Kyle, your top sleeper of the week. What do you got?
I got the guy that's going to eventually be the #1 running back on the Indianapolis Colts, Dan Herron, just because, as I said before, Trent Richardson is awful, and it's going to be a pretty easy job for Herron to take over. I do not envision Trent Richardson going anywhere with this. So Dan Herron, start him this week. I think that he's going to average more than 4 yards a carry like he's been doing all year on a limited role. So I'm liking this pick.
All right, and who's your number 2?
My number 2 is actually a guy that's a backup right now. That's Niles Paul. I'm picking him just because of who he's going against and because Jordan Reed is questionable. I don't know if he's going to be able to still stay healthy. It's another hamstring issue, which kept him out for 4 weeks already this year. Larry Donnell and Jimmy Graham have already just had 2 big games against San Francisco the last 2 weeks. So I'm thinking that if Niles Paul can get on the field for enough snaps, then I think he'll have a pretty big game.
Makes sense to me. So, Gage, favorite sleeper of the week? What you got?
My first favorite sleeper of the week is a wide receiver going against my Philadelphia Eagles. So I made a bet with somebody at the beginning of the year because they said Justin Hunter was going to have a better season than Kendall Wright. And although they're both struggling, he was wrong, and I'm winning his money so far. But I think Justin Hunter is going to have a big day against Philadelphia, Justin Hunter versus Philadelphia, because I think they're going to have to throw the ball deep, and I think Justin Hunter is going to catch one. He's going to have 102 yards and a touchdown this week. Justin Hunter. Book it.
I'd like to definitely meet that one person that you made that bet with because they need to have a talk with. So, number 2.
So my other deep sleeper this week is going to be my own tight end. It's going to be Mercedes Lewis against Indy, and this is versus again. I'm not sure why, but Mercedes Lewis has been on the short-term IR for the last couple weeks, and before that, he was having a pretty decent season. Getting the ball thrown to him out of the backfield a little bit, little dink and dunk routes. So I think against Indy this week, he's going to be the only game in town. I think their wide receivers are going to struggle. I think Mercedes Lewis, look for him to have a big comeback game this week, or at least get you 12 points. 12 points from a tight end is pretty solid.
All right, so further ado, let's go ahead and take another look at those sleepers. So, Kyle's having a pretty strict look at that KJ's list. So, Kyle, who don't you like in KJ's list right now?
Okay, I don't understand what you were talking about when you said that Justin Hunter was going to have the better year than Kendall Wright. Have you looked at the stats yet? Because I see maybe 2 games that Justin Hunter has done well in, and I love your prediction of 102 yards and a touchdown because Zach Mettenberger might not throw for 102 yards this week, but I'm gonna just say that if you have Justin Hunter, please don't start him this week.
He said don't. Okay.
Justin Hunter is a wide receiver 3 with high upside, and I said Kendall Wright would have the better season, not Justin Hunter. The other guy was high on Justin Hunter, and I'm taking his money.
All right. So, Cage, while you're at it, who's your pick out of Kyle's team?
Sorry, I ad-libbed. I do not like Niles Paul this week. I know RG3 normally likes to throw to his tight ends, but I think RG3 normally likes to throw, and I don't think he's going to be able to because Aldon Smith is going to have him on his ass all day. I don't trust any of the receivers or catching threats of the Redskins against San Fran. I think the Redskins are in for a really rough afternoon.
Somebody's got to catch the ball.
No. RG3 is going to throw for 72 yards. 14 of those are going to be for Niles Paul. Zach Mettenberger is going to have more yards than RG3.
Well, you might be right because I'm starting RG3 this week, so it could happen.
And that's coming from a Cam Newton owner. Okay, so shots fired. Okay, so without further ado, this is our segment for our viewers, for the people, like we like to say. So, Chris Gordon, take it away.
All right, guys, back to the Facebook and Twitter questions. The first one we have, pick a defense. So which D would you play? And I mean, I'm assuming the answer has already been said 30 seconds ago, but the San Francisco defense versus Washington having RG3 on his ass all day, or the Dallas defense versus 5 interceptions, Mr. Eli Manning last week?
I don't know how this question is a question.
Well, let's ask it.
Take it.
Sorry to steal your thunder, Chris. I forgot that you were going to mention the San Fran defense. But yeah, San Fran's defense, they have Aldon Smith back. How could you not start them? Start them, no question. I don't care how decent Dallas's defense has been or how bad Eli looked last week. It's a division game. Stay away from it. Start San Fran.
Kyle, shaking his head no. What do you say?
Ladies and gentlemen, it is the season of giving, and Eli Manning is in his giving mode. 5 interceptions last week. There's going to be 4 more this week for Dallas, and I'm going to say 2 of them are pick sixes. Start Dallas's defense. The Giants are playing at home, too. They like to stink for their fans. Start Dallas's defense.
Bottles will be thrown in the field. So, back to Chris.
All right, the next question. This bothers me because last week I really needed Tom Brady to score a lot of points, and this guy, Jonas Gray, took a lot of them away from him. So the question is Jonas Gray the real deal?
Let's hand it off to Kyle. What do you got to say?
No, not this week. He's not going to be. If I read reports out of the Patriots camp that basically they used the same blueprint against the Colts last week as they did in the playoff game last year when they just ran all over the Colts. That was their game plan going into the game. Tom Brady knew that they were just going to run the ball, and they already said this week to expect a different game plan. It's not going to happen this week for Jonas Gray. He might get like 15 touches, but he's not going to see 38 carries.
No, I wouldn't expect that again. Cage, Jonas Gray?
I think he's the real deal for the season, maybe, and you'll use him the same way you use Ridley as like a high-end flex option, but I don't think Jonas Gray's going to have a good day this week. Detroit's got a tough run defense. I think this looks more like a Shane Vereen kind of game, which a lot of people thought would be last week. Didn't work out that way because Jonas Gray lit it up for 4 touchdowns and 199 yards. But yeah, I think this week's going to be more of a Vereen week. You may want to stay away from Jonas Gray if you've got somebody else who's a better option.
Jonas Gray says it's the real deal. Back to Chris in the field.
I hate Jonas Gray. Okay, so next question and final question for the day. A play at the flex position. Would you play Odell Beckham Jr. versus Dallas or Jeremy Maclin versus Tennessee?
Let's hand this off to Cage.
All right, so I actually know who this question is from. So, Jim, you've got a beast team. I can't believe these are the guys you have to choose from. But I am going to go with Odell Beckham in this situation. Jeremy Maclin had a good game last week. He got in the end zone, but his looks and targets have been down a little bit with Sanchez looking at Jordan Matthews instead. Odell Beckham is still the only game in town, even though Ruben Randle had a great game last week. Odell Beckham is going to be the guy that they force the ball to against Dallas in the division game. So I think Odell Beckham is the guy to go with versus Jeremy Maclin, which hurts me to say.
It really hurts to hear that Macklin has been garbage time in it. Come on now, really?
Hey, so
Well, since I already said that Eli Manning will be throwing to the wrong person 4 times next week, or this week, I think I like Jeremy Maclin. He's still I think he's top 5, top 6 receiver in the league. He didn't have a bad game. Even if his targets are going down, he's still their deep threat, and he's still their number 1 receiver. So, number 1 receiver on a high-flying offense, especially when they're not playing against a high-caliber team. I'll go with Jeremy Maclin this week.
All right, and back to Chris.
All right, guys, so thanks again to everyone watching this video, liking the channel, sharing the video, really helping us grow. Again, follow us on Twitter at Ultimate Plan B. Like us on Facebook. Search for The Ultimate Plan B. Again, thank you so much for asking all these questions, and we look forward to answering more for you next week.
Certainly. Final words, Cage?
if anybody watching this video knows what logo this team is, whatever, on my hat, please let me know, because I don't know. I bought the hat because I thought it looked cool. So yeah, please let me know. I don't know who I'm representing right now.
All right, and Kyle, stroking your playoff beard. What's up?
Ah, yes. Just trying to get my beard close to like how that mustache that Kyle Orton used to have, even though he shaved it. I'm all in on Kyle Orton this week, baby. I'm on the Kyle Orton bandwagon finally. 4 touchdowns to get the Jets last time. What's he gonna do this time? 5? I'm banking it. Bank it.
Can we call him Kyle Pornstash now?
I'll take it. Woof, they got like 20 inches up there. He's probably growing it back anytime soon, don't worry. Alright, so that's Ultimate Plan B. KVK Week 12. We're out.